All right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
I'm very happy to be with you today.
Hare Krishna.
But last time I was with you was the 31st of December last year.
Wow, almost 20 years early.
Yeah. So we will speak today of the third canto.
Yes.
Third canto, chapter 5, text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tan socha chochan avido no soche. Are katayam vimokam mangena. Krishnoti devo nimisastu jesam. Ayurvritavada gati smitinam. Translation. O sage, persons who, because of their sinful activities, are averse to the topics of transcendence and thus ignorant of the purpose of the Mahabharata Bhagavad Gita, are pitied by the pitiable. I also pity them because I see how their devotion of life is spoiled. I see how their duration of life is spoiled by eternal time. Why they involve themselves in presentations of philosophical speculation, theoretical ultimate goals of life, and different modes of ritual. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. According to the modes of material nature, there are three kinds of relationships between human beings and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of ignorance and passion are averse to the existence of God, or else they formally accept the existence of God in the capacity of an order supplier. Above them are those who are in the mode of goodness. This second class of men believe the Supreme Brahman to be impersonal. They accept the cult of bhakti, in which hearing of Krishna Katha is the first item, as a means and not the end. Above them are those who are pure devotees. They are situated in the transcendental stage above the mode of material goodness. Such persons are decidedly convinced that the name, form, fame, qualities, etc. of the personality of Godhead are non-different from one another on the absolute plane. For them, hearing of the topics of Krishna is equal to meeting him face to face. According to this class of men who are situated in pure devotional service to the Lord, the highest goal of human life is Purusartha, devotional service to the Lord, the real mission of life. The impersonalists, because they engage in mental speculation and have no faith in the personality of Godhead, have no business hearing the topics of Krishna. Such persons are pitiable for the first class pure devotees of the Lord. The pitiable impersonalists pity those who are influenced by the mode of ignorance and passion, but the pure devotees of the Lord take pity on them both, because they waste their valuable time in the human form of life in false pursuits, sense enjoyment, and mental speculative presentations of different theories and goals of life. I read the translation of the verse once again. A sage persons will, because of their sinful activities are averse to the topics of transcendence, and thus ignorance of the purpose of the Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, are pitied by the pitiable. I also pity them because I see how their duration of life is spoiled by eternal time, while they involve themselves in presentations of philosophical speculation, theoretical ultimate goals of life, and different modes of ritual. Omakiana timirandasya chinansla shlakya. Sekshuan militam yena tasmai sigurave namah. Chichitanya manobistam staptam yena bhutali svamrupakadamyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham shiyo padakamanam shirom vaishnavam sam. Shirupam Charachatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivan Sadvaitam Savadutam Paricana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakanalita Shivishakam Vitam Sha E Krishna Karuna Sinu Dina Bandhu Charatpate Kope Shakopka Kantara Kant Namaste Tapta Kansna Gaurang Hirade Vrindavaneshvari Vishabhana Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Pancha Kalptra Vishya Kripa Sindhavesha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So this puppet is mainly on compassion. The devotees, paradukha dukhi, if he sees someone suffering, he feels the suffering of that person. If someone misinterprets Bhagavad Gita of Bhagavatam or the Mahabharata as mentioned here, then the devotee feels sorry for them because they miss fulfilling the ultimate goal of life. In Prabhupada Lilamrita, it's mentioned that, I don't remember the exact places, but they were driving Srila Prabhupada and they were stopping at the side of the highway. And there was a man with his wife, stops before a little further, and the man comes out of the car, and there's a truck, and the truck takes him and crushes his body completely, and the wife started to cry pitiably. And Prabhupada said just to the devotee who was driving, just continue calmly. But then they arrived, I think it was San Francisco, Los Angeles, I don't remember. But they arrived there and he saw old man playing with balls. And Prabhupada became very angry. He said, why are they wasting their time? They are missing the goal of life. They are wasting their human form of existence. So that's a pure Vaishnava. He feels compassion. But that compassion is also in the heart of Krishna. He is the most compassionate. He speaks Bhagavad Gita, but he knows there are transcendentalists who do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows there are monists, they are even not believing in Paramatma, only merging with the impersonal Brahman. But still Krishna wants them to make spiritual advancement. He could have made the Bhagavad Gita very short. At the end, he says, Sarvadhamam Prachayam Mam Kamsaram Vacha, just surrender to me. Man Mana Bhav Madbhakto, Machi Mam Namaskar, and do that. That's all. So he could have the introduction, the first verses, and straight to the 18th chapter, and that's the Bhagavad Gita. But no, he speaks, he gives different options. He speaks to different transcendentalists, levels of transcendentalists. And they have a part of the picture. Their goal, what they think is the final goal, is only a step towards bhakti. They are in reality intermediate goals, but they think it as the final goal. And that is what Srila Prabhupada describes here in the purport. Yes, there are different kinds of people who have different interpretations. But Krishna is compassionate. For the Jnanis want to merge with Brahman. He set them on the way, that how to understand the difference between spirit and matter. And by austerities become renounced. That's the first step. But they think they can join. When they come to the spiritual platform, means joining with Brahman, with the spiritual energy. And that becomes their goal. But no, the neti philosophy of the impersonalist means only understand you are not his body, you are spirit. But then if they are intelligent, if they understand I'm not a spirit soul, then the next step is I want to experience that. Then they go to Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. But still in Ashtanga Yoga, the yogis, it's said in Bhagavad Gita, what is the goal of yoga, this Ashtanga Yoga? That Citatma Prasantasma Paramatma Samahita is to find the super soul in the heart. But at the end of Krishna says, Yoginam apasarvanam mathan and antaratmanam shadvam vatsateyamam samyuktatameta matha. Highest yogi is one who is united with me in love in the heart. So then they realize, yes, Paramatma. And so meeting Paramatma is the goal of life. But what happens when you meet Paramatma in the heart? You understand Paramatma is the controller of material nature. Nice. And what happens? You stay in this material world. It's an intermediate goal. These intermediate goals are also in bhakti. We start with chanting and association with devotees. We learn the process. Anartha-nivriti, our heart becomes purified. And if it's completely purified, nishta, we have liberation. We have obtained the goal of the jnanis. But that is only the beginning of spiritual life. But they think it's the goal. And then we continue by chanting the Sudanam, the pure name. And gradually we come to Nishta, Ruchi, we get taste, and then Ashakti, we find Krishna in the heart. That's the goal of the yogis. But still, it's not the ultimate goal. Our goal goes further. That the final goal is to develop love for Krishna, bhava, and prema. And unless you attain this stage, you cannot return to the spiritual world. You stay in this material world. Or you join with the Brahma Jyoti for some time. Jnere vandaag Muktamana vast bij Avishuddha Vadaya, in the Bhagavatam says. They think they are liberated, but they only have realized some peace, realizing they are not a body. And after a long time in a Brahmacharya, it becomes boring when they come back. So it's not real liberation. It's like you are in the prison and you are scaling over the wall, or you dig a tunnel, and then you are out of the prison. But are you free when you are out of the prison? No, the police will get you. The real liberation is Bhakti Yoga. And that requires a change of heart. It is Srila Prabhupada explained it to Bhakti Charumaraj, my spiritual master. The spiritual master told us what Prabhupada said. There are two kinds of liberation. The liberation of the impersonalist, and one is in the prison, one digs a tunnel or scales over the wall and is out, but is not free. Prabhupada said that's negative liberation. The positive liberation is real liberation. One is in prison, and the prisoner writes a letter to the king. And the prisoner writes, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I should have followed the laws of the state. So please forgive me. I will never do it again." So when the king receives that letter, he may say, "Okay, let him go." Or he may say to the prison authorities, "You observe him, always behaving." And the prison authorities begins to treat him in a very nice way, different from the other prisoners. He gets some facilities, and they observe him, and they start to use him as a role model for the other prisoners. And then after some time, the prison authorities inform the king that he's doing very well. He's exemplary. And the king thinks, I may need a good servant. And he writes to the prison authorities, "Please send him to my palace. I will engage him." So that's from the prison to the palace of the king. And that's the positive liberation. So a devotee is very compassionate with all those who have these speculations of so-called goals, which are intermediate goals mostly, or perform certain rituals. And it's like the sage of Namisaranya was doing all these rituals, and the only effect was that their body became black from the smoke. But then they understood the real path is the hearing of the Bhagavatam. So they did such sacrifices for 1,000 years, but it was of no use. So today, we are Christmas Eve. Many on that day think about how to give charity to others, how to be compassionate to others. Being compassionate to others, it means, what does it mean, compassion? That we have in Bhagavad Gita 2:1, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada writes that real compassion is compassion for the soul. That Arjuna's compassion for his family members was compassion for the outer dress. It's not real compassion. We hear many times about different forms of compassion. that I thought a lot about it, and like I've here this is an excerpt from a speech of the Dalai Lama, and that was given in. He gave this speech in 2001. That's 24 years ago, at the Festival of Tibet in Mumbai. And what he says, that is wrong. Compassion need to be based on religion, he says. It doesn't need to be based on religion. It's part of human life. Whether you are a believer or a non-believer, trying to be warm-hearted, a warm-hearted person is essential, does he say. This has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with philosophy. Without that sense of caring and concern to one another, one cannot be a happy person. I found that interesting that, and considering these words of this Dalai Lama, I wondered what is the logic and the values behind this statement. And is that statement a form of compassion? Or what he says to be warm-hearted? And what is the highest form of compassion? Does compassion exist on a deeper level? So then I started to explore what is real compassion. That the dictionary says, often the dictionary describes compassion as a shared suffering of empathy with a show of special kindness to those who suffer. So people have many ideas in this world about compassion. They have the golden rule that do unto others as you have them do unto you. That's the golden rule. That is this a kind of a form of special kindness? That or is it only based on an ethical philosophy? That so factually, I found out this golden rule. If you really apply it as it states there, it can be very uncompassionate. That because the golden rule is a constant principle. It describes that our action towards others be in harmony with our desires about how we would like to be treated in similar circumstances. It does not tell how to act. If a masochist tortures others and desires to be tortured in a similar way, then the golden rule is correctly applied, while the person acts wrongly and uncompassionate. So that's not the real understanding. That cannot be compassionate. Real compassion, Srila Prabhupada says, is compassion for the soul. In his purport of Bhagavad Gita 2.1, Srila Prabhupada writes, material compassion and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization, Srila Prabhupada says. In other words, no one knows where to apply compassion. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. This body is like a dress for the soul, and one who does not know, he laments for the outward dress. So how to define real compassion? Is it showing concern for the welfare of the body, or is it for the well-being of the soul? We have Prahlad Maharaj. He expresses his compassion in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. He says, kindly look upon us, not only upon us, but on all those others who are suffering, and by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. Interesting here, Prahlad Maharaj's compassion is not selfish. He prays to the Lord not only for himself, but for the Lord's compassion that and maintain all other living entities. This is different than the Dalai Lama's idea of compassion. It says here, thus his compassion is not only empathy, but it has an active element in that he seeks to actually help those for whom he's feeling compassion. Whereas the idea of only warm-hearted loving kindness as the characteristic of wishing for the happiness and welfare of others, compassion as the quality of wishing that others be free from material suffering, a wish extensible to all living entities. Genuine compassion means self-realization, spiritual vision, and intelligence. It is complemented by wisdom, an insight in the transient nature of material existence, and the knowledge that the soul is the sentient being, which is different from its material coverings perceptible as gross and subtle body. The ultimate nature of reality is that the suffering of the eternal souls are due to misidentification with their bodies. These are karanam gunasangosya, caused by their exploitative mentality, bhunkte prakriti jan gunan, resulting in the living entity's transmigration from one body to another. Material compassion is not liberating one from transmigration and continued suffering through various forms of life. However, spiritual compassion aims at spiritualizing the consciousness of the living entity. Consciousness is the symptom of the presence of the soul, and spiritualization will bring the living entity back to its original position as a servant of God. Furthermore, this realization will lead to the re-establishment of the soul's intimate relationship with Krishna. Such realization is characterized by the experience of unending ecstatic happiness that King Rishabhadev says, Brahmasakyam Fanantam. So there's compassion for the body and compassion for the soul. One who fails to understand the suffering, that suffering is inherent to a life of sense gratification, will not be able to feel compassion for the senses. Sri Prahlad expresses the following to Lord Nrsimhadev. He says, my concern is not only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for... So my concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with them. So compassion develops when one is free from the illusion that bodily comfort equals happiness. But such happiness is merely an absence of suffering, just as eating remedies the pain in the stomach called hunger. It is not contemplation on the various sufferings of living beings, but rather the acquirement of spiritual knowledge that will increase the breadth of our compassion for the soul. So in 1973, Srila Prabhupada had a dialogue with a Christian cardinal discussing the issue of meat eating. The cardinal's conviction was that human life is sacred, but that of animals is not. Therefore, animals can be killed to feed man. Of course, this is contradictory to the fifth commandment. Thou shalt not kill. But Christian theologians justify this contradiction based on a theology which was promoted by Saint Augustine in the 4th, 5th century. And that theory says that the humans have a soul endowed with intelligence, but the animals have a soul endowed with something that resembles intelligence, a kind of intuition, and therefore they are inferior. And that justifies them to kill animals. Anyway, because I was interested in that, I studied this whole theory from St. Augustine and where it comes from. It's too long to go over it and not so important for us. But we must become qualified to understand what the nature of real compassion. That's because it is said in this verse that we're discussing today. So those who are sinful, who are ignorant, and the purport also is explained, those who are under the mode of passion and ignorance, they cannot understand the real goal of life or Krishna consciousness. But they can also not understand the real nature of compassion. Because we know, like Prahlad Maharaj, when he prayed to Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Nrsingadev wanted to give Prahlad all benedictions. He said, "You may ask for me all benedictions you want. Your desire will be fulfilled." However, Prahlad did not feel anxious to accept the Lord's offer. He says, "My dear Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I'm naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I'm very much afraid of material conditions and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I've taken shelter at your lotus feet." So Prahlad Maharaj understood materialistic endeavors cannot not make one happy. He realized that only materially unmotivated devotional service to the Lord is the cause of satisfaction of the heart. It is a source of unending happiness. And so we see many people in this world, they try to get happiness through so many materialistic endeavors that it becomes all a failure. Yeah. Some years ago, in the United States, a man won the lottery and suddenly received $360 million. That's 20 years ago. After having received the news, accompanied by his pet granddaughter, he flew to New York to collect the money. And back home, he suddenly had more friends than ever before. New friends came. Even a cousin in the 3rd grade family lineage, whom he had not seen since birth, showed up. Although visited by so many people, he felt lonely and dissatisfied. he realized that the new friends were all after his money and that their relationship was only based on material gain. In the meantime, he spent his money lavishly, especially for the benefit of his 16-year-old pet granddaughter. He bought her 3 cars and arranged for a meeting with our favorite rap singer. Sometimes later, relatives, friends, school friends, and others started complaining about the arrogant, proud, egoistic behavior of his granddaughter. Finally, she died due to an overdose of drugs, and the man cursed the day that he ever won the lottery. He cursed that day. It brought him only unhappiness. So there are so many examples. But compassion starts with self-compassion. And that starts with understanding how attachment to material assets is really a dangerous illusory energy. And that's, I would say, a prerequisite for developing real compassion. One can fulfill these requirements by progressively realizing unalloyed and pure devotional service, devoid of material qualities. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is addressing Lord Nrsimhadev with the following words. My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your presentation. It's your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I've been crushed by the wheel of time and surrender unto you fully. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. So Prahlad is comparing the illusory energy as a crushing stone that destroys everything. That he observes his unsurpassable nature. He decided to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So to become compassionate means first self-compassion. It means we have to be free ourselves from illusions, the ignorance that covers our soul. These coverings are 5 kinds. Lord Brahma has created these coverings. The first is called tamas. We forget our spiritual identity. Because we forget Krishna, we forget who we are. And then because we are forgetting ourselves as a spiritual servant of Krishna, Moha, we misidentify with the body, and then Moha, then we think that is mine, and that's for my enjoyment. And then Tamisha, fear comes of losing one's possession and one's situation. And then under Tamisha, one thinks I'm going to die, but the soul does not die. So real compassion means developing a desire for purity, a desire to purify our consciousness, a desire to remove these illusions and become again situated as a blissful spiritual identity, as an eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, the desire for purification is important. That's the beginning of our self-compassion. And Prahlad praised the Lord Nrsimhadev. Oh my Lord, you have these nails. They are just like thunderbolts. Kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activities in this material world. Please appear in our heart and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. So, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of that verse from the Bhagavatam, Every devotee should learn to pray like this. To pray to the Lord, please take away my material attachment. Take away everything what is between us, all these obstacles. So then, yeah. And then we can develop compassion for others. Prabhupada explains compassion as follows. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence, he says. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to the people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. So distributing spiritual knowledge is the same as spiritual compassion, Prabhupada says. And Prahlad Maharaj, Kamaraj read Prabhu, this verse, where instructing his schoolmates, he advises to educate children from the Kamara age, 5 years old, to practice spiritual activities, giving up all other engagements. So if one regains his spiritual consciousness as a spirit soul absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Transcendent Lord, then that is, yes, the beginning of compassion. That compassion, if we make spiritual advancement, will emanate spontaneously from the heart. And that we see in this verse, that Vidura's talk with Maitreya, so I think it's Vidura who is praying here or speaking to Maitreya Muni, I think. So he has this spontaneous, that spontaneous compassion is in his heart. Prahlad Maharaj expresses this as, my concern is only for the fools who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families. But spiritual compassion that comes from practicing pure devotional service. Therefore, engaging others in pure devotional service is the greatest compassion. And when that is also what Bhagavad Gita is promoting, engagement in devotional service. And if someone does not understand that, then it's deviating from the purpose of, but also we are chanting the holy name of Krishna. We must also be compassionate with ourselves in the chanting of our japa, in the chanting of the holy names. And that we learned from Haridas Thakur. This is explained in Harinam Chintamani. Harinam Chintamani was written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1900. Prabhupada was 4 years. And he wrote Harinam Chintamani in the form of a dialogue between Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya. And Haridas Thakur explains to Lord Chaitanya that there are 3 stages of chanting. The aparat state, that's where we make offenses. We committed an offense against the holy name because we don't have the right inner attitude. And the second stage in the chanting is the clearing stage of Namabhas. That is Anartha Nivritti. Then the heart becomes purified. And that takes a long time. Then after purification of the heart, we come to Sudana and develop love of Godhead. But the effect of the chanting of the holy name in Anartha Nivritti is the purification of the heart when we give up the offenses. So purification is very important for us to get. But why do we commit 10 offenses against the holy name? We don't have the proper attitude. What is the proper attitude? It's explained by Lord Chaitanya. Trinata Pishnachna Tarora Visesna Manana Manadna Kirtanya Sadari Nadanam Nachanam Nachundram Kavta Vachi Sakami Mamacha Mamicham Mishfre Bhavta Bhaktara Haitkit Fai. I should be tolerant, that humble, not asking honor, giving all honor to others, not wanting wealth, not wanting relations with the opposite sex, not wanting followers, not wanting riches, that not wanting liberation, only wanting to serve the Lord out of love, without any material motive, birth after birth. It means we have to, that requires. So why can't we apply that? And why is our heart not really purified when we chant holy name? Because we commit these offenses. And Haridas Thakur says that why do we commit the offenses? It's a lack of Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan is knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. And that knowledge has three aspects. You have to know who Krishna is, who we are, and what our relationship is. Compassion is really explaining that to all the people. That chanting, if we are not thinking ourselves as servant of Krishna, if we chant, then we chant in bodily consciousness. We don't have this Sambandha Gyan. And we're chanting in the modes, the mode of passion. We chant, we are engaged in profit calculation, and we are planning our activities. The mode of ignorance, we chant, we are distracted by sleep or inattention. But the chanting gets transcendental when we are situated in Sambandha Gyan. And chanting the names with love. My spiritual master, someone asked my spiritual master, what does it mean chanting Hare Krishna? And my Guru Maharaj replied, chanting Hare Krishna means saying to Krishna, I love him. But while chanting, we should remember our true identity. That it's a living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because we are the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation of simultaneously one and different with the Lord. When we forget that we are in eternal relationship with Krishna, our chanting becomes offensive. Because we think in terms of I and mine, but everything belongs to Krishna. Krishna is the enjoyer. Therefore, I want to read to end a prayer. A devotee, a nice devotee, who has 30, 40 years with us, wrote this prayer. And I want to read it to you. It's a prayer we can say before chanting to come in the right mood of chanting. And that's, if we come in that right of mood, that is self-compassion, then our chanting, then the potency of the holy name will purify us. The potency is always there, but it becomes only manifested if we are in the right mood, giving up these offenses. So I will read this prayer to end. So it says, I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. But due to ignorance, I've gone astray and become become lost in this world. Forgetting my eternal relationship with the Lord, I've identified myself with the body, thinking that my bodily relationships and my work to maintain this body are most important. Like this, I've passed one lifetime after another in various species since time immemorial. I've been wandering in the cycle of repeated birth and death, suffering various miseries. Now, by the mercy of the devotees of Krishna, I've learned that I'm an eternal spiritual being and that I have nothing to do with this world. I'm completely different from my gross and subtle material body. I have an eternal life with Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world, which is my real home. That my eternal family and friends are waiting for me to come back so that we once again can blissfully serve Radha and Krishna together. I deeply long for this. I'm so unfortunate that my path back to I'm so fortunate that my path back to the spiritual world has become clear. The Lord has personally come in the form of His holy names to dispel my illusion and revive my eternal relationship with Him and take me back home. I let go of this material world and everything in it. There is nothing for me to do here. I hold tightly to the holy name so that nothing can get between us. And I serve Him with all my heart by chanting with full attention and complete dependence. So that this is my presentation on this verse. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. Of course, Maharaj, we know you always speak so beautifully, and not just beautiful words, but the love behind the words you speak. But your delivery today makes us miss you the most because, like you rightly said, we haven't had your association here for about a year, and we pray and hope that you will visit us much frequent than this year. This is our humble request. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations, reflections you may want to ask or share, please you may indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak or share your realizations or reflections. We've put some restrictive measures on our Sangha from today on because of an unfortunate situation that happened. So if someone wants to unmute, you will have to raise your hand and you'll be allowed to unmute. Well, Maharaj, I have this question. It's very interesting you were reading the prayers of Sri Bhakta Prahlad. And as young in a bodily age as he was so devoted to the Lord. His prayers are very devotional. And what surprises me is what Prahlad Maharaj says in one of his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. And if I may put it up here, is Canto 7, chapter 9, text number, I think, 20 something. But in effect, Prahlad Maharaj was saying that he's been born into this demonic family because of his past life, because of his past activities, and that he didn't serve the Lord. But my question is, if he did not serve the Lord and his past life was so sinful, how could he have had the immense knowledge about the Supreme Lord up to the point that he wasn't even afraid of Lord Nrsimhadev? With his ferocious appearance, he wasn't afraid of him. He knew that this is his Supreme Lord. Yet he is praying to the Lord that he is born into demonic family because of his past sinful life. His school life, we knew nobody taught him about vision. They were actually teaching him some demonic subject matters. But he was telling his peers, his friends, let us talk about Vishnu. So, Maharaj, please, if you may help, why Prahlad was praying like that.
For this, it's good to consider Prahlad Maharaj's history. In his previous life, it is said that once he had problems with his girlfriend. They went out for a picnic, and but they got disagreement, and they split up. But Prahlad in his previous life was very angry with the situation, whatever it was. But because he was so angry, he was fasting the whole day. But the place where he was fasting appeared to be a place where Lord Nrsimhadev appeared in one of his previous incarnations. And he was fasting on that day. He was not fasting on Nrsimha Chaturdasi without knowledge. It's called Ajnata Sukriti. Then he took birth in the womb of Kayadi, I think, the wife of Hiranyakashipu. But when Hiranyakashipu conceived Prahlad Maharaj, at that moment when he had union with his wife, so that the day before, there was a kind of parrot, and he was saying the whole day, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and that got in the mind of Hiranyakashipu. And when he was conceiving Prahlad Maharaj, he was thinking, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, and by that he attracted a very pious soul, which was Prahlad. So what he has done in his previous life, we don't know, but it must be pious. But then Kayadu, his wife, when Hiranyakashipu was doing his austerities, the demigods took the occasion and kidnapped Kayadu, and they wanted to bring her to the heavenly planets, waiting till the boy was born, and then kill the demon. But Narada came and he encircled. He said to the demigods, "What are you doing? Don't you know that in her womb is a pure devotee?" So that's already an indication it's a very pure soul. And they accepted it as vice, and circumambulated the pure devotee and disappeared. And then Kayadu was brought to his ashram, that Narada Muni was instructing Kayadu, but also Prahlad was in her room. Kayadu was too much absorbed in her husband and her family life, and she did not register the hearing of the Bhagavatam. But Prahlad in the room was in a difficult situation, and he heard everything. And he took it very seriously, because he could realize it while hearing it. Why is that? Because Narada Muni was blessing him. It's by the blessings of Narada Muni that he realized that in the womb already. So when he came out of the womb, he was fully realized. Of course, that's a very extraordinary situation. But his arrangement of the Lord, because he wanted Prahlad to play the role of a pure devotee. That makes Prahlad so special. That it's not a common situation, an extraordinary situation. How he got practically love of Godhead just by the blessings of Narada Muni. That's called Kripa Siddhi, only by blessings. So blessings of the spiritual master are very important, and the entire Guru Parampara. But that makes him immediately to come to the platform of self-realization. So that's what's in the Bhagavatam. That's what I only repeat. Does that help?
Very much, yes. Thank you so much, Maharaj. In fact, as you were speaking, I was making reference to what you were saying. And let me see here. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 7:9-28.
Yeah.
So Prahlad is saying, "My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service?" This is very inspiring. And like you were saying, Maharaj, that is a very special case. But in our case, I should say in my case, I was not instructed by any spiritual being while I was in my mother's womb, even while I was growing up until a certain stage. By Guru Krishna's grace, I got in touch with Krishna consciousness. Now, the part that is left is that Prahlad is saying that this great person, Narada Muni, he has blessed me with this transcendental knowledge. How can I leave his service? Now, in my case, and probably in the case of other devotees also, even though we've been fortunate enough and received this transcendental knowledge from our gurus, but some of us have forgotten about our gurus and we do not serve them. So my humble question is, how do we get into this mood of Prahlad Maharaj that we express this attitude of integrity, that we were lost, we were nobody, and somehow this particular person came to our aid, helped us, gave us Krishna consciousness, and therefore it is our duty to serve this person. Unfortunately, some of us are not doing what could inspire us or remind us to do just as Prahlad Maharaj is praying to the Lord. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
So I'm going to answer of my own experience. In 2018, I was at the Bhaktivedanta Manor in London. And together with my spiritual master, Bhakti Charamaj. And he was going to give initiation to some of my Bhakti Shastri students. And he asked me to speak to them, to give a lecture. And I was just sitting beside him in a very embarrassing situation. A spiritual master, a disciple does not want to speak in the presence of the spiritual master. But I said, okay, he asking me. So I was praying to him, please bless me. And what was his answer? He said, no. And he pointed his finger to the deity of Prabhupada and said, this is where the blessings come from. But how can we understand that? In the Bhagavatam, at the end of the third canto, Teachings of Kapila Deva, there is a verse that says, when one becomes a devotee, then one has studied in his previous life all the Vedas, done all the sacrifices, and has done all the austerities in order to chant the holy name in this life. So the devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, did we really do that in our previous lives? And Prabhupada said, don't worry about that. I did them for you. So that is where the mercy comes from. Because it is in the scriptures. One who is in the mode of passion and ignorance cannot understand anything about spiritual life. And we were all in the mode of passion and ignorance. But by the mercy of Prabhupada, by his books, by his blessings, we have been put on the path of devotional service. Therefore, it's our duty to serve Prabhupada and his mission. As long as we are trying to spread Krishna consciousness in his movement, Prabhupada's mercy will flow, because it flows through his books. Prabhupada is still preaching. The mercy is still going on, but it depends on us to give it to others. And that's really the highest compassion, I would say. That we are Christmas time, everyone speaks of compassion, but this is real compassion. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. It helps, but I am wondering, why is it that, like, taking myself, for example, I'm asking this question. So part of my thinking is that I need to, or I have to serve the lotus feet of my guru, because my guru served Srila Prabhupada. So if I serve my guru, I'm serving Srila Prabhupada at the same time. But why am I not serving the lotus feet of my guru? That is what I'm asking myself. Why is it that I know, part of me know that I have to serve the guru because of what the guru has done for me. Yet I do not serve the guru. I don't know what is making me not to serve the Guru, even though I know that it is expected of me to do that, to serve the Guru.
I understand. In that regard, I try to see, because it is said, the scriptures say Guru is one. So the instructions of Srila Prabhupada are the instructions of my Guru, Bhakti Saraswami. And so these instructions are the same. And when I think of Prabhupada, I think of my spiritual master. When I think of my spiritual master, I think of Prabhupada. They are not to be separated. And that, I know when I engage in Srila Prabhupada's mission, I'm serving also my Guru Maharaj. But of course, there is also the question of the urgency. Do we see the urgency? If we are too absorbed in material consciousness, we lose this sense of urgency. And that's a danger. Therefore, constant association with devotees. That's our saving grace, association of devotees. Then we don't lose contact. Yes. Because making spiritual advancement, how do I know that I'm making spiritual advancement? That you become more happy and you become more inspired. You get taste. Taste is then your heart becomes purified. But yeah, taking shelter of the spiritual master and Prabhupada's mission, that is the real saving grace. That it at the same time, it's the most compassionate act. And that's really the theme of today's lecture, which is very appropriate for Christmas, where everyone thinks of being compassionate, but many are acting not so compassionate on this day, especially for animals. But yeah, it's due to ignorance. And we cannot criticize them. We did the same before, probably. But yeah, it's like one prisoner is criticizing the other. That although we may be exemplary prisoners now, but we can only pray that, and there's this prayer of Prahlad Maharaj from the 5th canto. He said, let all people become unenvious, free of envy, by engaging in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And then there will be more peace in the world. And that's really the message of Prahlad Maharaj. If we pray for that, for all the others on this day, not only for us, and we'll see what happens. It's all in the hands of the Lord. Whatever happens, good or bad, is for the good of everyone. That's the arrangement of the Lord. The bad is to rectify us, and the good is to inspire us to go further back to God. Good.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? Anyone? Govinda Prabhu, please. Okay, please, you may unmute. Govinda Prabhu.
Yes, he's driving.
Yes, he is our Garuda.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Please accept my respectful obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to your service, to the Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna. Happy to hear you.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, as you were answering this last question from Sahadev Prabhu, I was thinking that his question was how we can serve the Guru, and why are we not serving the Guru? Why are we not serving the Guru, and how can we actually serve the Guru? And so I was thinking that to serve the Guru, physically, if the Guru is around, we can render personal service to the Guru. But what about serving the purpose and the intentions of the Guru? Because the Guru served the purpose and the intentions of his Guru. And the mood of the bona fide spiritual master is to reclaim the lost souls back to Godhead. And so the gurus, like yourself, are always conscious and praying how you can assist Srila Prabhupada in reclaiming the souls back to Godhead. And so I was thinking to serve the Guru actually means one aspect of it is to serve the purpose of the Guru. And serving the purpose of the Guru means that to develop love and compassion for all living entities. And more especially, Srila Prabhupada was asked a question. A question was asked by one of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada, how can I serve you? And he said, you can serve me by how much you cooperate. How much you cooperate to each other means that Srila Prabhupada came for a purpose, and that purpose is to reclaim souls back to Godhead. And so the lost souls whom Srila Prabhupada has been able to gather together, train them, try to nourish them to become Krishna conscious and not to go back to the material world again. Prabhupada came for that purpose. And so if we are to cooperate, means to cooperate with the idea that we be together, we be one, and also help those souls who don't know about Krishna, help them also to become Krishna conscious. I mean, this was going on, in my mind as we were answering the question. I don't know if you can comment about this. And after this one, I also have another question. Thank you.
Yes, it is said somewhere that the disciples should understand the mood of the Guru, otherwise his life is useless. It's a heavy statement. But anyway, that therefore, of course, the Guru is a servant of Srila Prabhupada. If we understand Srila Prabhupada's mission and how to serve it, then the service to our Guru is included for certain. But in some circumstances, the Guru may give specific instructions to the disciple that, and they are also important. That I remember when I was in the GBC, I was GBC secretary from 2002 till 2008. And when I was a secretary in the GBC, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj always came to see me and was glorifying my service. It was a very sweet personality. But then he got in disagreement with the GBC about the Bhaktivedanta Institute, that that he had received direct instructions from Prabhupada. And the GBC instructed him to do something else. GBC is the ultimate authority, but Bhaktiswarup Damodar Maharaj never deviated from it. And it was a very difficult situation. But later the GBC understood and apologized to him. So there are also direct instructions of the spiritual master. And that is interesting. That may conflict sometimes with general instructions of our ISKCON authorities. And that makes it sometimes very difficult in this movement. In 241, Vyavsatmika Buddhi Ekana Koronandanam. This one point in intelligence Vishwanacharya Bhaktitha is taking the instructions of the spiritual masters from heart and soul. So I agree with you, Govinda Prabhu. The mood of Srila Prabhupada, the mood of the spiritual master are important to understand. But sometimes there may be difficulties on that path also. But we can only surrender and try to do our best. So that would be my comment, Govinda Prabhu. You had also a second point?
Yeah, thank you. Govinda Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you. The second question I had was, yes, you were explaining the question again, the question Sari Prabhu asked about Prahlad Maharaj. And then you took us back to the history of Prahlad, that he had an argument with his girlfriend, and he stayed all night, fasting all day, and as a Agya Sukriti, and because he fasted in a very special place. So the question, I was also thinking again, as you were answering the question, I was thinking, then what about when we say Agyan Sukriti, unknowing pious activity, does only the devotees benefit from Agyan Sukriti? Because then again I was answering myself, Prahlad was not a devotee, so to speak, at that time. And so if that is the case, and he had these blessings, then I said that then, the Lord is very merciful, that he has opens an avenue for all living entities to come back to him in different forms. Here, our gurus, we practically have festival every day.
Mm.
We have the guru's appearance and disappearances, Janmastami, Gora Punim, and so many festivals that we do fast. And those who are not devotees, so to speak, actually everybody is a devotee, but those who have not known Krishna yet, they are also fasting. The same day that we are fasting, the same day Lord Shimadeva appeared, they are fasting. Christians are fasting, Muslims are doing 30 days fastings, and people are fasting for various reasons. People are fighting, they had argument with their wife and children, and they don't even eat, and they go to bed. And so all these people, are they all getting blessings from their fastings? Because every day is practically a great day for a great personality, and unknowingly they are fasting. Would they be benefited from their fastings like Prahlad Maharaj?
That's a good question. Krishna says in 11:53 Bhagavad Gita, it's not by austerities, it's not by this fasting, it's not by study of the Vedas that you can see this form of me. It's only by Ananya Bhakta, pure devotional service. When I see the history of Prahlad Maharaj, I'm thinking his previous life is one life, but he may have gone to many lifetimes. Maybe already as a devotee. We don't know that. It's just we get that story. He fasted at Chaturdasi. That, but then there's fasting and there's fasting. Fasting for what purpose? What do we want to obtain by this fasting? So that's also a devotee fast on Ekadashi to spend more time in Krishna conscious activity and less in bodily activity. And we are so absorbed in chanting and so on that we don't experience this as a great austerity, this fasting. It's just we are absorbed in Krishna more. And that becoming Krishna, that absorption in Krishna, that gives the real benefit. But all the others who are fasting, are they doing that? Probably not. They may have many purposes. Fasting to get rid of their sins, the actions of their sins. The Christians fast that and anyway, they do so many things which I also did before. But it's not in the realm of bhakti. This fasting. Fasting can be done in the realm of bhakti to please the Lord, to spend more time in devotional activities and less in bodily consciousness. And that gives the real benefit of fasting. Sometimes the devotees are also bewildered by that. And Prabhupada said, we have to fast on Ekadashi, and the idea is to think more of Krishna. But then in the scriptures, you have the benefits of this Ekadashi and that Ekadashi and another Ekadashi, and they're all karma kanda benefits mostly. A devotee has nothing to do with it. But sometimes, somewhere or another, that slipped into the Ekadashi promotion. So we have to be careful to stay on the path of unalloyed pure devotional service. So Prahlad Maharaj may have he has gone to so many lifetimes, and we don't know about his previous lifetimes. That nothing happens by accident. Although there is one principle that is also very important, and that just by the blessing of a pure devotee, we can make spiritual advancement. Like Prabhupada had a talk with Allen Ginsberg, and in New York, and Prabhupada spoke about all the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, the predictions for Kali Yuga, that terrible predictions. Then Allen Ginsberg said, yes, okay, and what with your disciples? Will they still be around then? And Prabhupada said, no, they go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So these are the words of a pure devotee. These are the blessings of a pure devotee. Yes. Because Prabhupada was once saying to the disciples that so in Nectar of Devotion is said, Rupa Goswami said, we become devotees in this life, but because we have been devotees in previous life. And devotees were asking Prabhupada, were we devotees in our life? Or did we become devotees by some Ajnata Sukriti? And Prabhupada replied, I'm your Ajnata Sukriti. So, and this is in Madhuraka Nambini. Madhuraka Nambini, by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, the mercy of Krishna is followed by the mercy of his pure devotees. Krishna gives the power to his pure devotees to give bhakti to others. They can decide. And that is certainly also happened by Prahlad Maharaj. But Narada Muni did not do things by chance. It's Trikalagya. He knows past, present, and future. He knew the purpose of the appearance of Nrsimhadev. He knew all these things. And he blessed Prahlad. That's inconceivable. That's what I can say. Bhakta Hassan has a question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And Govinda Prabhu, thank you for the questions. Bhakta Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Jai Maharaj, please.
Hare Krishna.
Andrea, accept my respectful obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and all glory to the wonderful assembled devotees. Maharaj, my question is curious. It's about the Nitya Siddhas. For example, Lord Jesus Christ, may peace be upon him, when he was crucified in the cross, at some point he was going through pain, so he prayed to God for mercy, and it goes like that God should help him. Ele lema tabasani. So at that point, it is said that the Holy Spirit come and empower him to go through that situation. And the same thing happened to Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him. He was affected by black magic from the Jewish, and during that particular moment, he falls sick. So there was 3 chapters in Quran which God revealed to him. Every time something like that happened, he has to say that prayers, and one of them is to ask God refuge from God from anything who he created. So this considered to be one of the prayers which he prayed, and he was become okay. And one time I was hearing His Holiness Jayapataka Swami. He was talking, he was sharing the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, and he said that Prabhupada was in a bathroom, and he heard Srila Prabhupada call him Jayapataka. When he came, there was this snake, and he slammed the door and killed the snake. And Srila Prabhupada said that the snake was sent by his enemies. So my question is that there was any circumstances which the effect of enemies of Srila Prabhupada affected him in any way? And if so, what did Srila Prabhupada do? What did he do at that moment? This is my humble question, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, no, there is one pastime of Srila Prabhupada that comes to mind. And that was that he had the fight for Juhu with Mr. Nair. And we know Mr. Nair died suddenly from a heart attack. And after that, Prabhupada said, it was a good fight. I prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev to take him away. To take him away. So Prabhupada prayed also for help in devotional service. A devotee does not pray for himself, but for help in the mission, that otherwise a devotee sees whatever happens, good or bad, as a mercy of Krishna. But for the mission, we pray to the Lord for help. For also, Brahma did that at the beginning of the creation. He was praying to the Lord for protection against Maya, for introspection, and for empowerment. So we can certainly pray for that and follow in the footsteps of Lord Brahma. Yes, the Lord empowers his devotees. Thank you so much. It was a very nice point.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, man. Bhakta Hassan's question and Maharaj, your beautiful response to his question is very much affirmed by Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj himself here, 7.9.14, where he says, "My Lord Nrsimhadev, please therefore cease your anger now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since even single persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident of their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation. Remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear." So I think this is very appropriate to Maharaj's response to Bhakta Hassan's question about Srila Prabhupada asking Jayapataka Maharaj to deal with the snake.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. Well, Maharaj, thank you so much for giving us your time, your love, and your wisdom. And like we said earlier, we pray and we hope that we can have your association much more frequent, especially in 2025.
Yes.
That's a humble request, Maharaj.
We try our best, if Krishna willing. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Maharaj, we thank you for giving us your blessings. Dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to His Holiness Bhakti Prabhav Swami Maharaj for his love and wisdom shared with us today. Please, you may all unmute. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
His Holiness Bhakti Prabhupada Swami Maharaj ki